looks like we're going to have a very, very nice day to do it. I wish the wind was laying down just a little bit, but I think it's still going to be a good day for it. So I'll let Brad take it over here.
I'm Brad White. I'm the baseball coach here at Northeast. Kind of a little backstory about kind of why we're here. We overseeded in the fall, and with the shortage of grass seed and not being able to get what you normally would get, came up, was great, was happy, and then all of a sudden it just started dying. So I know a couple people came in and said, "Did y'all overseed this?" And I went, "Yeah." And it started slow. We first thought it was disease. Buyer came over and looked at it, and no, I don't think it's disease. We don't know what it is. And then the weather in the fall was kind of crappy, as you know. If you take care of your fields the right way, you know, it comes up, it looks great, you mow it, and the next week it looks totally different. As we went along and we came back from Christmas, you know, I'm calling by going, oh, I'm freaking out. So after a little bit of research and him helping me out, Robin Wicker, he called from Endurance Paint, and Pete Denny, GCI, Brad Driggers called, and we kind of got to talking about what we could do to make this better. When they called, Robin sent me some pictures, and I went, holy crap, this is unbelievable. I appreciate them coming. I'm excited about seeing what's going to happen, because I have no idea what's going to happen, what it's going to look like, but if it's like the pictures he showed me, everybody's going to be amazed. I'm going to let him talk about what it does.
Good morning. Thank you so much for coming this morning. I want to thank Mr. White and the school for letting us do this. We're very informal when we do this. We like people to ask questions, and you know, feel free to just jump right in. I would like to know, how many of you have ever painted grass outside the line things? Okay, so you guys, I would think, yeah. And so high schools have. Okay. So Geoponics and the company that makes the Endurant, we've been doing this now for 12 years. We started out in the golf industry, I guess 12 years ago. We were challenged in Myrtle Beach to copy or get the same color as 419 juiced up on ferrous sulfate heptahydrate or chelated iron in the summertime. So we did that, and then it turned out our second customer was here in North Carolina, Pinehurst Resort, and then from there it kind of spread. We got involved with the USGA, and we are, just so you know, we're not against overseeding. We do overseeding. Like if any of you watch the waste management tournament right now, that entire golf course is painted with Endurant. And more recently, it's been mostly professional sports and golf courses. About 4 years ago, we started moving into lawn and landscape and high school turf grass management, or sports turf management, and it's really taken off. You know, one of the big things that we look at is we try to work with different entities to work with a program that is specific to your situation, whether you overseed or you play on dormant turf. If you've not seen this before, you know, we have various colors. It depends on, like, you know, what type of, with this, in most cases here, it's going to be Bermuda. If it's overseed, we do have what we call a hybrid overseed program. Typically, if you're, you know, look at out where Mr. Yoder was from in California, they typically do more heavier overseeding, like in the golf industry. So as a lot of you know, the cost of things have gone up, and the availability of ryegrass has not been what it has in the past. So one of the things we try to do is we work with the different programs where you can show you how, if you do overseed, you know, which, you know, a lot of especially in football, where you have to get the recovery, if you do get into dormant situations, we can show you how to reduce the rate of overseed. Let's say some of the, you know, somebody's going at 800 pounds per acre. We can show you how to do at 150 to 200 pounds per acre, but make it to get the recovery, but look like you're at 800 to 1,000 pounds per acre. So I was going to give real quick, Mr. Denny with GCI Turf Services. Pete, I'm very gracious. He's been very helpful. Here in a lot of, if you are with high schools, we usually try to train different companies because a lot of the high schools won't have the equipment, and you can outsource that to do this application. So I wanted to give Mr. Denny a few minutes if he could tell about your company and your experiences.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Pete with GCI Turf. We do fertilizer weed control, mainly residential, and then we do athletic field work too, laser grading infields, fertilizer weed control to the turf, the Bermuda, whatever, overseed with rye. And I've worked with high schools mainly, and as you all know, if you're a high school coach, your budget typically is limited sometimes, if not all the time. And I grew up playing baseball. I remember playing on green grass, and although I didn't know anything about turf then, I just remember the grass was green. And I'm sure you as a coach likes that for your players, to play on green turf, no matter how you get there. And one of the fields we have been doing for years, we do the traditional thing, overseed with rye, and year after year after year, the Bermuda kept taking longer and longer and longer to heal and recover during the summer. And so we're left with mud, and you end up doing all this extra work to get it to grow in and fill in, just so the Bermuda looks good for a month or so. So I got tired of the high school wasting their money on ryegrass, so I went to a different alternative, and that's when I hooked up with these guys. And now I'm going to be recommending to our high schools that we paint the field. One, it's cheaper than overseeding with rye, and number two, you don't have that transition spray out. You don't have to do any of that. And then three, if your Bermuda does get dinged up, you don't have to recover it. So it's kind of like you're getting the best of both worlds. Bermuda sucks because it turns brown in the winter, but Bermuda's awesome because of what it does in the summer. And so now we got green turf in the winter, green turf in the summer, with no harm done to the Bermuda. So that's kind of what turned me on to them. On the application today, I want you to be very aware that our conditions right now are absolutely nowhere close to ideal. When you leave here, personally, I don't think you're going to get the full effect because of the wind. So if this is something you end up doing and trying and all that, clean cut turf, vacuumed, right? The shortcut turf, and no wind. That's ideal, but of course we can't control that right here today, so we're going to do the best that we can do.
So today we're going to be using the Endurant Premium. The Endurant Premium is pretty typical what we use on 419 Bermuda grass or variations of Celebration or whatever variety you have. We do have variations of color. If you have zoysia, for example, we have the Endurant Perennial Rye, which is St. Augustine, which wouldn't be applicable in sports turf, but we have variations of colors so that when you paint, if you've seen paint before, in the past, sometimes it doesn't look very natural. We want folks like that are professional turf managers will have a hard time seeing that it doesn't look like that it's painted. It just looks like 419 in the summertime. So today we're going to be using the premium, the darker color. If you like that, we do have darker colors that we use on. Most of the time it's in professional sports, where they like that really heavy, dark, kind of see it from the moon rate. The Endurant Fairway, I believe that's what they're using at TPC Scottsdale now. Yeah. So in Las Vegas, if they like to see the stuff when you're flying in there, they like to see it from the plane. So we want to do the infield first. We're going to do a walking boom. That way you can see, and I think you're going to get the best results As we get further out, that wind's going to come into play. I think we'll have some really good results here. And Brad's going to just talk real quickly about.
Yeah, real quick about nozzles and things like that. I know we got some landscape guys here too that are going to want to see some certain things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our flow zone backpack sprayer and we're going to use our edging wheel. The edging wheel is great for mulch beds, edging out stuff like this on the dirt, sidewalks, driveways, things like that, to keep the paint off of the driveway or wherever you don't want the product to go. It also helps with windy conditions like this, kind of keeping that blocked. On the edging wheel, we have those are 04s on the edging wheel, flat fan nozzles. They're 06. And then we're going to use the Spray Hawk to paint the infield. On the Spray Hawk, those have 06 nozzles as well, just regular flat fan 06s. And then once we get to spraying with the Toro Multi-Pro, we've moved to a 110 degree nozzle 10. Yeah, so we're trying to get some higher volumes going out, so we did use a 10 nozzle. Dual fan, so what the dual fan does is we're going to paint actually we're trying to get to somewhere around a 7 to 8 gallon per acre rate, okay? For this particular application. We're going to split that into 2 applications. And we're going to do that in separate passes. So we want to go perpendicular to the first pass. And with those dual fan nozzles, what that does is when you're coming over that leaf blade, you're actually hitting the front of the leaf blade and the back of the leaf blade. And then by the time you do it another pass, you're basically hitting that leaf blade from 4 different directions. It helps with streaking. If you happen to miss a spot or overlap a little bit on the first pass, it just kind of cleans all that up.
How long does it last? On dormant turf or non-vertically growing turf, you're going to get 2 to 3 months out of it. Okay, so basically you can start early for baseball or whatever sports you have in the spring, and of course when you're moving into the fall, you can also, we do a lot of football, so it's either whether you're playing on dormant, if your Bermuda goes dormant, you can keep it green right through the season. And the second question that I get most from sports managers, does it come off on the uniforms? Okay, so today we have a product that we put in that was made specifically for the NFL. It's called Endurance Spray and Stay. And what that is, if you watch football on TV and it's raining or something, these guys get up and they're just covered in green paint. So what we did was we came up with a process where you can have a waterproof binder that won't affect the transition of the turf if you are transitioning out. And that's called wet and dry crock fasteners. Typically you don't have any issues on when the grass is dry, but as it moves in, or you have, like for soccer for example, a lot of guys they'll pre-wet the soccer field so the ball rolls. So, or a rain event, we want, once that turf grass dries, you don't want any stains on the uniform. And we see this a lot. Typically, especially on dormant Bermuda, we usually see about 4 to 6 weeks earlier transition times with painted grass versus non-painted grass. And we don't, like I said, we don't have anything. We work with overseed. One of the challenges, I guess, with overseed is, you have the competition of your natural resources to, you're competing for those things. So if you're growing a healthy turf, healthy Bermuda through the summer, the better stand of Bermuda you have, obviously it's the better canvas for us to be able to do this. If it's dirt, you're going to have green dirt.